They watch you, but not with the ordinary gaze, not with eyes of jealousy, though it may look like that, not with judgment, though it may sting like it. They watch you because they sense something else, something holy, something untouchable, and it haunts them. You've walked into rooms and felt the air shift, haven't you? Felt their posture stiffen, felt their smiles falter, their laughter quiet down, like a sudden storm rolled in, uninvited but divine. You didn't say a word, and yet everything was said. That's not arrogance, that's not paranoia, that's presence. That's what happens when God Himself has walked parts of your journey with you. They don't know what it is. They call it weird, or too intense, or too sensitive. But let me tell you what it really is. You are marked. You are set apart. You are not from here. You've been sent here. And whether you remember it fully or not, your soul signed up for this. If anything here stirs something inside you, feel free to share your experience below, or pass this along to someone who might need to remember who they are. Welcome, earthly angel. Today we're not here for motivation. Today we remember you were never meant to fit in, because you came here to bring something entirely new. And what you carry, they've never seen before. This is why they watch you with unease, why they ask you questions and then recoil when you answer honestly, why your silence often speaks louder than their noise, because you walk with a signature of the divine that can't be forged, can't be copied, and can't be explained through logic. And here's what they see. Even if they don't have the language for it, you hold the stillness of the sacred. In chaos, you remain rooted. In storms, you radiate clarity. It makes no sense to them, but they feel it, and it humbles them. You expose their shadows without even trying. Because you've done your own shadow work, you've faced your demons. So when you enter a space, people either feel safe or terrified. There is no middle ground. That's the cost of carrying divine light. You disrupt falsehoods by your very being. The lies they tell themselves, you see through them, and worse, you make them see them too. That's spiritual power, not to shame, but to awaken. You don't even need to speak. Your energy speaks for you. You remember your assignments. Even when you doubt, your soul doesn't. That's why you keep getting pulled back to your purpose. Why you can't stay distracted for too long. Why comfort feels suffocating. Because you came here with a mission, not just a lifestyle. You are immune to imitation. People can copy your words, your style, your strategy, but they can't copy your frequency. And you've probably noticed, the more they try to imitate, the more it drains them, because they're operating outside their anointing. But you're walking inside yours. And when they say something about you is different, what they're really saying is, I see the divine when I look at you. And it reminds me of everything I forgot about myself. Because that's what angels do, isn't it? They don't perform magic. They remind us of magic. They reflect heaven back into our lives when the world has grown numb. That's what you are. You are a divine interruption. You are a frequency dressed in flesh. You are God's proof, walking. Now listen closely. You've been gaslit, heartbroken, minimized, and misunderstood. You've been made to feel like too much, or not enough. But that was part of the refinement, not punishment, purification, because Earth doesn't hand out wings. It tries to clip them. But here you are, still rising, still real, still radiant. That is no accident. There's a reason you've survived everything that was meant to destroy you. There's a reason you feel more than others do. Why you wake up some mornings with tears in your eyes for no clear reason. Why music feels like prophecy. Why silence feels like scripture. Why pain feels like transformation. You are not broken. You are becoming. And don't get it twisted. Being an angel doesn't mean perfection. It means responsibility. It means carrying codes of truth through hostile terrain. It means walking with humility even when you're carrying power. It means bleeding sometimes, silently, while still transmitting light. They see God in you because you've been with God in the hidden hours. You've prayed when there was no one to hear. You've forgiven when it made no logical sense. You've kept going even when your soul screamed for rest, and God saw it all. That's why you shine now. That's why your aura speaks louder than your resume. That's why doors open in strange ways, and why some slam shut with divine force. Because angels don't beg. They align. You don't hustle for attention, you carry intention. And as you walk in that truth, the world shifts. You never needed to convince them, you just had to walk in the room. Because when an earthly angel steps in, the entire energetic field changes, not because of ego, but because of origin. You were formed in the quiet, built through betrayal, trained in hiddenness. And now, your light is undeniable, not loud, not performative, but constant, like the hum of a divine current. They've tried to define you using their human terms, too emotional, too mysterious, too intense, too distant. But that's because your essence was never meant to be measured by worldly standards. They've never seen someone so calm in storms, so steady in chaos, so loving even while carrying scars. They don't understand how you keep walking with grace after what you've endured. But the truth is, you've walked with angels. You've walked with God. You've wept with heaven in your darkest nights. That's why your steps are sacred. You're not just healing. You're activating others through your healing. You're not just surviving. You're waking up others through your survival. People look at you and remember something they thought they lost. Something sacred. Something childlike. Something unbreakable. They don't know it, but when they talk to you, they're praying. When they listen to you, they're receiving. When they resist you, they're being refined. You carry ancient wisdom without opening your mouth, because your energy is not from this generation. It's timeless. You don't just speak with insight, you exist with insight. That's why some people feel exposed around you. You show them the mirror they've been avoiding. Your boundaries are sacred, not selfish. You've learned that not everyone deserves access to your frequency, and that's not arrogance, it's stewardship. You protect your peace now because you've paid for it with your past. Your solitude is your sanctuary. You've stopped fearing being alone because you finally realized you were never really alone. You were being taught, shaped, initiated. God hid you not to punish you, but to prepare you. You've become a silent leader. People follow your energy more than your words. They watch how you respond, how you navigate, how you love, and they adjust themselves without even realizing. You've become the blueprint for emotional and spiritual integrity. And when they push against you, when they reject you, they're not rejecting you. They're rejecting what your presence awakens in them. You force them to feel. You invite them to rise. You challenge their numbness with your light. And a light is disruptive when you've lived too long in shadows. But let that not discourage you. Let it confirm you, because only those who carry heaven within disturb the hell around them. You've noticed it, haven't you? The way people either soften around you or harden. The way children stare, animals follow, elders nod in silence. The way you walk into places and hearts open like old windows touched by spring. That's because your soul remembers the original language of this earth, the one spoken before noise, the one sung before trauma, the one whispered by angels before birth. And when people hear it in you, they don't know whether to cry, bow, or run. But you know, you've always known, that you were born with a different kind of light, not for spotlight, but for illumination. You don't steal attention, you reveal direction. You don't crave validation, you carry revelation. You don't manipulate presence, you are the presence. You've been tested like no one knows, and chosen ones always are, but God doesn't anoint without fire. He doesn't elevate without emptying first. And you, chosen one, you've been emptied, haven't you? Drained by people you loved, depleted by places you trusted, disillusioned by paths you once prayed for, but the emptiness wasn't the end. It was the clearing, the sacred space being made for your real self to return. And now that self is rising, not in noise, not in rush, but in full divine alignment. You've come too far to go back to shrinking, too deep to live on the surface, too called to keep pretending. Let the others speak. You'll move in silence. Let the others chase. You'll magnetize. Let the others hustle. You'll flow. Because that's what chosen ones do. We don't beg for the throne. We become it. And whether they understand or not, they will know who you are by the fruit you bear in stillness. You've noticed it. The way people look at you like they're staring at something not fully human, not in a dehumanizing way, but in a divine way. Like something in you unsettles their ego and awakens their soul. They can't explain it, but they feel it. You walk into a room and old masks slip. Walls they didn't even know they had begin to tremble. You're not forcing it. You're being. And being is dangerous in a world addicted to performing. They see God in you, not because you preach, but because you embody. Not because you're perfect, but because you let yourself be transformed. It's in your eyes, your silence, your presence. It's in the fact that you don't speak unless it's needed. And when you do, something about your words goes deeper than logic. You say little, but you say what matters. You've become the kind of person people run to when their world falls apart. Not because you fix them, but because your peace exposes what they've been missing. You reflect what they've buried. Your existence calls forth the part of them they left behind in childhood, the free one, the pure one, the one that still believed. And for some, that's painful, because remembering what you lost hurts. So instead of embracing your light, they reject it. You don't chase, you attract, because you've finally stopped trying to prove your worth. You don't force connections anymore. You don't explain your heart to people committed to misunderstanding you. You sit back, aligned, and allow the real ones to find you. You carry reverence. People feel like they need to be honest with you, even if they weren't planning to be. You've become a walking confessional, a mirror, a reminder. You're not trying to expose them, but truth reveals itself in your presence. You're not loud, but your spirit speaks. They don't remember your outfit or even what you said, but they remember how they felt around you. That feeling lingers, it haunts, it heals. And that's because you're not just human, you're a vessel. God has refined you for this. And every betrayal, every season of loneliness, it was all part of the sculpting. You didn't lose friends, you shed the noise, you didn't get abandoned, you got positioned. You weren't being punished, you were being preserved. And now, you carry what cannot be taught, that sacred stillness, that rare blend of softness and strength. People project onto you because you reflect what they haven't faced. People envy you not because of what you have, but because of how light you remain. Even when you've lost everything. You don't just walk with God. You've become a reminder of Him, not in doctrine, but in essence. The conversations shift when you arrive. The jokes stop being cruel. The volume drops. The energy recalibrates. You think you're just being polite or observing quietly, but in reality, you're changing the frequency of the room, and people feel it in their bones. That's why some people look at you like they've seen a ghost, because they've just seen someone who's still alive in spirit, and that scares them more than death. You can't fake what you've become. There's a depth in your stillness that makes liars nervous and the broken hopeful. Because without saying a word, you communicate, "I've been to hell and made it back with heaven in my chest." You hold space for others without judgment. You don't lecture. You don't perform. You just are. And that being is the most powerful sermon they've ever experienced. So no, you're not delusional. You're not imagining the shifts. You're not too intense or too sensitive. You're finally aware of your light. You're not better than others, but you are set apart, and that's what makes you dangerous to every system built on illusion. You remind people that God still walks among us, through people who carry fire without burning others, who speak without noise and love without condition. You are one of them. And it's not something to explain, it's something to remember. Stay with it. You weren't made for the spotlight, but the light still finds you. Not the artificial one that fades, but that eternal glow that clings to your skin like divine proof. That's why you've been through what you've been through. That's why the pain never made sense until now. It was all refining. You were hidden, isolated, misunderstood, not because you were weak, but because heaven was shielding something sacred. You carry a frequency that can't be mimicked. People try. They watch you, mirror you, even steal your words, but something's always off, because they're operating from imitation, and yours was birthed in revelation. You became who you are through fire. You didn't read about healing. You bled through it. You didn't memorize wisdom. You earned it in the dark. That's why your presence hits differently. Because it came at a cost. You move in spiritual authority without needing recognition. You don't need applause to feel validated. You've become allergic to performance. There's a quiet power in you now. It doesn't shout, but it's undeniable. You forgive without needing to be asked, because you've seen what bitterness does to the soul. You've outgrown the need for revenge. You understand that peace is your protest. That silence is sometimes the loudest answer. You don't waste energy anymore. You no longer try to fix everyone. You've stopped showing up where your heart is unwelcome. You've learned to conserve your essence, not because you're cold, but because you're wise now. People keep wondering how you glow when life tried to kill you. They don't understand the paradox of your peace, but that's because they haven't seen what you've seen. They haven't walked with angels in the middle of heartbreak. They haven't been held by God when no one else came through, and you're not even trying to prove it. You just walk through life like someone who knows too much to be shaken anymore. It intimidates some, it inspires others. But either way, it's unforgettable. There are people you haven't seen in years, still thinking about one conversation they had with you, one gesture of kindness, one time you looked them in the eye and saw them when no one else did. You think you've been invisible, but people have been watching, not in a creepy way, but in that quiet awe of someone who stands outside the noise. You're a walking contradiction, soft and unshakable, loving but not naive, present but not easily accessible. You're not hard to reach, just not easy to fool. You've been through too much to entertain what drains. You've cried too long to laugh at what's shallow. You've walked too deep to swim in surface-level talk. So here you are, still breathing, still shining, still chosen. Not by men, not by algorithms, not by followers or fame, but by God. Chosen for a time such as this, when darkness spreads louder and faster. But you're not here to panic. You're here to stand, to remind, to witness, to carry, to walk into rooms and shift the very air without effort. Because your spirit has become a portal, and your presence is not small. You've been misjudged because of how quiet you are. But they didn't know silence could roar. They didn't know softness could disarm. They didn't know humility could break chains. But they're learning now, and you don't have to say a word, just keep walking. Keep healing, keep carrying what you carry, because this world needs it. And maybe they won't always understand you, but they'll feel you, long after you've left the room, long after the small talk fades, long after the trends shift. You are the exception, and God put something in you for this moment. Don't doubt it now. If this resonates with your soul, drop your experience below or share it with someone who might need this reminder.